My biggest concerns for the 2020 election is dealing with misinformation and disinformation. There's a lot of information that we're all bombarded with all the time from many different sources. Some of it's correct, a lot of it's not. And so we want to encourage voters to go to trusted sources of information. Your county elections office and website, and the Secretary of State's Elections Division website, OregonVotes.gov. So securing the election is, a big deal here for the 2020 cycle. We've been working on this pretty much nonstop for the last 3 years. We've been doing assessments of our computer systems, doing trainings and tabletop exercises with all of the counties, and also doing on-site assessments at the county election offices to assess risk and then to take steps to mitigate those risks. And we're confident that Oregon's elections are more secure than they ever have been, and you can have confidence that your vote will be counted accurately.
Fair elections are a cornerstone of our democracy. Americans rightfully expect our electoral system to be secure and accurate. A confident public is more likely to vote, trust the outcome, and feel their vote made a difference. It's vital that the FBI fulfill its responsibility to protect your right to vote. When it comes to elections, the FBI investigates potential federal crimes which could deny access to polling places or your opportunity to vote.
Federal law protects us against many different election-related crimes, including intimidation or bribing voters, buying and selling votes, impersonating voters, altering vote tallies, stuffing ballot boxes, and marking ballots for voters against their wishes or without their authorization. Put simply, the law protects voters from those who try to intimidate or harass them, and it protects the rights of voters to mark their own ballot.
The FBI's 2020 election plan includes coordinated efforts between our experts in criminal, cyber, counterintelligence, and counterterrorism investigations at the headquarters level. In addition, each field office has election crimes coordinators, subject matter experts, both agents and intelligence analysts, who are trained to assess allegations of voter fraud, civil rights violations, campaign finance crimes, and other potential threats to both primaries and general elections.
Protecting elections is a year-round effort for the Department of Justice. During the election season, we put in place additional security and monitoring measures to ensure the securest possible settings for our elections. Every U.S. Attorney's Office has an assigned district election officer to lead investigations into known and suspected incidents of discrimination, intimidation, or fraud. This prosecutor works closely with the FBI and is ready to receive complaints and tips from the public.
The FBI is the lead U.S. agency for investigating malicious cyber activity, including attempted or actual intrusions in the election infrastructure. It's important to note that right now there are no known specific threats targeting Oregon's system. Saying that, election infrastructure owners consistently face a variety of cyber threats, including intrusions, leaks, attacks against voting infrastructure, and the targeting of Americans and elected officials. At the top of the FBI's list of core values is protection of everyone's rights under the U.S. Constitution, including the rights granted under the First Amendment. Fake news, for instance, is not necessarily illegal, and the FBI cannot initiate an investigation based on First Amendment protected speech. We will take action, though, when the activity crosses a line into criminal behavior. Specifically, influence operations run by foreign groups or governments can fall into that category.
While states and counties bear much of the responsibility to ensure a fair election process at the local level, the FBI takes allegations of election-related violations of federal law seriously. Here in Oregon, we are working closely with our partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office, Oregon Secretary of State's Office, and county clerks to launch educational and training opportunities and to share our resources and knowledge.
You know, we have tools to make sure that people don't vote more than once. The main security feature we have is your signature. And we check the signature on every single ballot that comes in against the signature in the voter registration database. And so even if you have a replacement ballot sent to you, there's codes on the envelopes to make sure that we're only going to count one of them. We also check against other states to make sure that people aren't casting ballots in other states at the same time.
No. Fortunately, the vast majority of Americans will likely never encounter voter intimidation, harassment, or fraud in their lifetime. Although rare, when election-related crimes do occur, they are sensational and newsworthy. News coverage of these events can give voters the false impression that these crimes are common or that individual votes are in jeopardy. Voters should have faith in our electoral system and should not be persuaded against voting out of fear of election-related crime.
COVID-19 is impacting all of our lives, but as far as the election goes, it's really not going to be that different from previous elections. You're still going to have your ballot mailed to you and still have options to either return it to a mailbox or to a drop box. Where you might see some differences is in the amount of time it takes to get the final results. Counties are having to spread out their workers to keep appropriate distancing, and that may slow down the back end process a little bit. But for voters, you're not going to see much of a difference at all. This election, for the first time this year, Oregonians will have the postage on your ballots prepaid by the state. And so you won't need to put a stamp on the ballot, which in effect turns every mailbox into a drop box. You'll still be able to use the drop boxes that are placed throughout the state, but you'll no longer have to provide a stamp in order for your ballot to be returned.
Long history has shown Russia is persistent and skilled in using disinformation to advance its objectives. Social media has only made it easier for Russia to amplify divisive or controversial issues that sow discord among Americans. We also know Russia will come up with new ways to target us, and our job is to figure out what they are doing and how to counter it. We also know that other nations likely learned lessons from Russia's efforts in 2016. We have to be agile and identify and counter a variety of threats.
The FBI is ready to investigate federal voting rights crimes, but we need the public's help. The FBI encourages citizens to call their local field office if they have information about an election crime. Callers can remain anonymous. If you are in Oregon, you can call us at 503-224-4181. You can also file a report through our online portal at tips.fbi.gov.
The FBI, working with the Department of Homeland Security and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, is using its Protected Voices initiative to encourage both the public and political campaigns to help strengthen our electoral system. You can find a number of easy-to-use education pieces at www.fbi.gov/protected voices. There are segments on social media literacy, social engineering, and foreign influence campaigns, as well as more than a dozen topics on related cybersecurity issues.
Free and fair elections are central to our system of representative government, and every voter has the right under the Constitution to have their vote fairly counted and be free from influence. When the election process is corrupted, democracy itself is jeopardized. Accordingly, the effective prevention and, when necessary, prosecution of election crime is a top federal law enforcement priority. Even one vote impacted by election-related crime is one vote too many.